pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Morning. I'd like to make one change to the agenda. I'm going to pull item 4 off the consent agenda, put it on the regular agenda. And with that change, I'd ask for a motion to approve the agenda.
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. I've got a motion and a second. Sherry, will you call the roll?
Commissioner Aaron's?
Yes.
Commissioner Poppins?
Yes.
Commissioner Schmidt?
Yes.
Commissioner Landine?
Yes. And then I'd consider a motion on the consent agenda with the exception of item 4.
So moved, Madam Chair.
Second.
Thank you. Got a motion and a second. Sherry, will you call the roll?
Commissioner Aaron's?
Yes.
Commissioner Poppins?
Yes.
Commissioner Schmidt?
Yes.
Commissioner Landine?
Yes. All right, we'll go ahead and just make a little change here on our agenda. Let's see, we've got Jeff Schaefer here. Hi, Jeff, do you want to come on up?
Good morning, everyone. My name is Jeff Schaefer. I'm with the Department of Legislative Audit, and I'm here to discuss the interview for your closing conference for your fiscal 21 audit. Each of you have been provided with a management letter that just outlines just talking points that I'd like to visit with you about. I would like to turn your attention, if you would, to the second page of that. And it says deficiencies noted in internal controls, which are material weaknesses and are included in the audit report under current audit findings. The county did not complete a reconciliation of recorded cash assets and cash investments to the financial institution balances since December of 2020. This reconciliation process serves to verify the county's deposits and withdrawals that have been properly reported with the county and is necessary to detect errors in the county's accounting system or errors made by the financial institutions. Secondly, the county has not presented a monthly verification of the treasurer's accounts to the Board of County Commissioners since January of 2021. SDCL 71033 requires that a monthly verification of the treasurer's accounts be reported to the board at each regular meeting, monthly meeting. The monthly verification serves as a check and balance of the treasurer's office and verifies cash balances and bank balances in the possession and control of the county treasurer. That will be, those findings will be summarized in a audit comment that you've also been provided a copy of. And ultimately, what it is the top, what the findings I have will be, also shown on here, but we're going to give the following recommendations. We recommend the county perform a reconciliation of reported cash investments to the financial institutions' balances on a monthly basis, and we recommend the county prepare a monthly verification of treasurer's accounts to the Board of County Commissioners as required by 710.3. This was the only finding that we had, that material that will be included in the report. I should also add that with your consent and with we put in some additional time, and that has been resolved, that it is being reconciled as of the end of, in 22, we got that reconciled. By the end of 22 was reconciled, so it's effectively been implemented, but as of 2021, 12/31/2021, it was in place. So you have the option to respond to the comment, it'll be included in the report. And so I open up, I don't really have any other questions for you, or things for you, but if you have any questions for me, please.
Jeff, I just want to thank you for your work on this. I know that you guys went above and beyond to spend a lot more time on this than in our county than what you normally would have. And a lot of that work was behind the scenes, but I think that work goes towards strengthening our internal financial management. And hopefully things are back on the right track in the treasurer's office now, and we've got some new leadership in there, and just thank you for all the work you did.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Jeff. Does anybody have any questions for Jeff? All right, thank you.
Okay, and the report's in its final version, and it should be issued here shortly, so,
All right, great.
thank you.
Thank you. All right, we'll move on to item 2 on our agenda. It's a tabled item. First, can I get a motion to take that off the table?
So moved. Second.
I've got a motion by
Jeez.
Commissioner
Okay,
Poppins.
go.
I'll take a second by Commissioner Aaron's. Sherry, call the roll on that.
Commissioner Aaron's?
Yes.
Commissioner Poppins?
Yes.
Commissioner Schmidt?
Yes.
Commissioner Landine?
Yes. All right, I know that I wasn't present when the testimony was given, but it's my understanding testimony was heard
But if I say it's okay.
during that meeting that was noticed for hearing. So at this time, I would ask for a motion on the item.
Madam Chair, I'd offer a motion to approve
Approve,
not the, I mean, this is an appeal.
right?
So I'm actually going to move to approve, and that'd be a positive, but I will be voting against it.
So you're voting to approve.
It's affirmative motion to approve the appeal, but I will be voting against it. Madam Chair,
Hang on there.
Madam
Yeah.
Chair, we're always encouraged to have the motions in the affirmative
Yes.
style.
So
I
are
am
you
offering the
wanting,
motion to approve it, so we
so
can
you're
get a
wanting
second.
to uphold the decision by the planning commission or repeal the motion?
I will
or
be
the-
voting against it, which will be upholding the planning and zoning's.
Okay, because
I
they
was-
approved it, correct?
I will second your motion.
Okay, I've got a motion and a second to uphold the decision by the
For
Lincoln
discussion,
County Planning Commission.
if I understand that, Commissioner Poppins, for discussion.
Well, the motion is getting muddled already. The motion, as I presented it, was to approve the appeal of the constituent to the county
To
commission.
move it off of the agenda.
No, we already moved it off the
I
agenda.
want to get it off the table.
Madam Chair, if it would be easier, I will offer a motion, remove my motion. Madam Auditor, I will straighten this out. I will offer a motion to deny the appeal to the county commission. It's not the motion in an affirmative form, which our state's attorney always likes, but I think it'll be clearer on this side.
Thank you. I will second your motion,
Okay,
Commissioner.
very good, thank you.
All right, I've got a motion and a second. Discussion amongst the commission.
Madam Chair, I'm going to make an amendment. I don't know if it gain any traction or not, but as I understand it, we directed or asked, I should say, these parties to come up with a road haul agreement. They have not been able to come up with one. They've had 3.5 weeks to do so now, which is a little frustrating. I could understand on one side, the township is very much motivated to want to get an agreement, but I would think the other party who is going to be using this roads would want to be motivated to have an agreement as well. They don't have one, and they should. And basically, I think what this all comes down to is tearing up these roads out there. So the amendment I want to make to the motion, which would be to add an additional provision to the conditional use permit. And essentially, what that would be is that the applicant would be required to provide maintenance to the roads that it uses for the milk plant, condensed milk plant, above and beyond regular maintenance that has to be done on those roads out there. That's my motion.
Is there a second to
I'll
the
second it
amendment?
for discussion. Madam Chair, if I may. Commissioner Aaron's, that we're in agreement, we had hoped that, forgive me the mic, we had hoped that the two parties could have got something finalized. I think there's a willingness to participate. I don't think they were able to get it done, whatever it is. I'm not part of that discussion. I don't think any of us were. That being said, I support that they continue to work on that. I think there's a willingness to. The circumstance that's in front of us now is starting to get time. I totally support that they work with Brooklyn and any other township around the area. The problem comes in is anything that we're putting in here, we're not prepared, I don't think, to understand exactly how that gets implemented, is what I'm afraid of if we were to add that amendment. But help me understand if you have a mechanism for that. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Good question. So I'm just thinking out loud here, but I would hope we could all agree that, you know, you just use your common sense and you know those roads are gonna get tore up out there above and beyond what they already are. There's gonna be approximately, you know, anywhere from 15 to 40 trips a day with big semi trucks on those gravel roads. The gravel roads weren't built or designed for that. I hope we can all agree on that. The township, I think under the law, the township's hands are tied to a certain extent. And they've already maxed out the amount of money that they can tax out there. And so the question is, if the roads aren't designed to handle it, and if you can't suck any more money out of the public treasury to fix it, what do you do? Well, you require the high-intensity traffic creator to pay for the cost of the maintenance above and beyond that which was anticipated out there and which is created by all the traffic out there. To your point, Commissioner Poppins, how do we do that? I simply would insert a line in the conditional use permit that says that if these two parties can't agree on it, we're gonna force it on them. Because it's just kind of common sense that it has to be, maintenance has to be done on those roads. So if these two people can't come together and get an agreement, we ought to just tell them as part of the conditional use permit process, applicant, you're gonna pay them for the cost of maintenance above and beyond traditional and regular maintenance. And the way we enforce that is, we put that in the conditional use permit, and then planning and zoning can just simply check in with the township and ask whether or not they've received a check for above and beyond the regular maintenance of the roads. Because I think that was the original offer that the milk plant made to the township. Township didn't accept it. So I'm just taking what the milk plant wants in their original offer and making that part of the conditional use permit.
Madam Chair?
I yield.
Commissioner Schmidt?
You know, I can understand everybody that has testified from the township side. But on the other hand, we're to vote only on this appeal. And when we start, the commission starts wandering around in township roads, we're going to say, we got one township, Brooklyn, but we have about 15 others that may have other issues. And if by starting this kind of legislation, are we prepared to conduct that in Prairie and Delapre and Springdale and all the rest of these townships? So I look at this as saying we either can upstand or support the appeal or turn it down and get on with this. In fact, as I understood it from one testimony, I think there was a quote that there were 14 semi-loads of milk that would be condensed down to 5. I've heard from any number of people in letters and in phone calls, so there actually is less. I've heard a lot about the silage, I've heard a lot about the manure hauling, I've heard a lot about that. But that's not germane to what we're talking about here today. So if we're, and by the way, I want to correct one person that wrote me a letter and said that they were going to use a huge amount of water. Well, actually, they're using far less water. So we have a lot of misinformation. So Commissioner Aaron's, I can't support your amendment. I just can't. I just think it's a straight up or down situation where we either uphold what the Planning and Zoning Board voted 5-0, or we don't. And don't put any other extenuating things on there.
All right.
Call the question.
Well, we've got an amendment, we've got a motion and a second on the amendment.
Yeah.
So first, I think we'd have to vote
Well, that's what I
on
want to call it.
making that amendment to the question. Any public discussion, or, well, we've already had that, so never, forget I said that. Go ahead, Sherry, call the roll on that issue.
Commissioner Aaron's,
Yes.
Commissioner Poppins,
No.
Commissioner Schmidt,
No.
Commissioner Landine.
No. All right, so then we have a motion to deny the appeal, which would have the effect of upholding the decision of our planning and zoning board. And so is there further discussion amongst the commission?
Madam Chair, here's where my thinking is on this. Lincoln County needs more value-added ag processing. We had 500 dairy cows 30 years ago. We have 15,000 in this county now. We need to keep moving in that direction because those cows take corn and hay and feed, and a lot of times that builds the local economy here in Lincoln County. That's good for ag producers, it's good for farmers, especially when local ag processing facilities are supporting local farmers. That's what we want to encourage. What I'm concerned about here, though, is the roads getting tore up. It's one of the reasons why the beef processing plant didn't get passed in Worthing. Now we're here dealing with the same issue. I wish these people would have been able to get together and get a deal. And I think what the township is gonna find out now is they were offered a deal, they didn't take it, now they're not gonna get anything. And it's too bad. It's too bad they couldn't get this thing fixed, because as a county, we're gonna end up dealing with this. I foresee in the future here, and these folks are gonna grow, they're gonna do more milk hauling, and who knows, maybe there'll be a Lake Norden-style cheese factory here in the future. That'll be good for jobs and good for the economy. But this area of the county was not designed to be able to handle and control this level of traffic. You know, ideally, we should have put this in some type of economic development districts. That didn't happen. At the same time, these people have their own private property rights, and those private property rights are important as well, so we have to balance the two. I wish this commission would have added in the provision about the maintenance of the roads. And I think that would have made it much more palatable for all involved. That would have been that would have had a uniting effect instead of having a dividing effect. We need less division, we need more unity on these issues. And I think that with the inclusion of that amendment, that would have at least had the effect of putting some salve in the wound for the township, but also allowing the dairy production facility to move forward as well. At least everybody would have won. Now we've created a situation where there's division in the county, and that's not good for anybody. Ultimately, I'm going to vote to support this because that's the needle we need to thread. We need to be able to sustain these kinds of milk production facilities, but at the same time, we need to be able to repair and maintain important county infrastructure. So I still hope that the township and the Minn Kota Holdings can get together and get some kind of deal done. Thank you.
Madam Chair, I'd like to make a comment, please.
Go ahead.
I echo some of your thoughts. I don't necessarily agree with all of them, Commissioner Aaron's, but I've heard from any number of people about overweight on roads continually and over bridges and huge silage wagons and things like this. So I'm going to say what I'm going to call for is better enforcement, and we start putting individuals out there. And to you, Mr. Denduck and Terry out there, I want to see us really reinforce the tonnage that we have on our bridges. So I don't hear that they're violating over county bridges. I think that regulating the size of these things and the tonnage that is required, that will probably be better in the long run to prohibit them from continually going overweight. I know that there are semis that haul grain, and there are gravity wagons that are, huge size today. where they get 500 and 600 bushels and they only got 4 wheels and they're not necessarily the best for a township road either. So consequently, better law enforcement, in my mind, would create a situation where we limit those size of those loads so that they conform to what the road capacity is and what the tonnage that can go over our bridges. Now, that may mean that our highway superintendent we may have to put more law enforcement out there, but I think that this is the best way to go about regulating and maintaining roads by following the law and following load limits. And I hope that that will be a situation that we can institute this before this fall, before these road hauls, before silage season starts, because I think that will have a very positive effect on overall road conditions. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Any other discussion amongst the commission? If not, Sherry, will you call the roll?
Commissioner Aaron's,
One moment.
Madam Auditor,
I'm
would
gonna,
just read the motion. The motion is to deny the appeal, correct?
and the appeal uphold the planning and zoning's
And uphold the
decision.
Planning and Zoning Commission. So,
Yes.
Commissioner Poppins?
yes.
Commissioner Schmidt?
Yes.
Commissioner Landine?
yes. Motion carries. All right, we'll move on to item 3 on our agenda. Joe? Good morning, Joe.
Good morning, Commissioners. I'm asking for board action today to approve a new qualified mental health professional that the joint board has hired. Essentially, the long story short is that increasing caseloads has caused issues for staffing purposes on Thursdays and Fridays. The individual that we have trying to evaluate individuals needs to also go to the VA, needs to go to all these other places. So they've hired a new staff member to be available on Thursdays and Fridays and help alleviate that staffage issue. The reason for the request is, my understanding is that this board has previously always required a firm vote to allow for that new qualified mental health professional to evaluate Lincoln County holds. Thank you.
Thank you. Questions from the commission?
This person, Joe, that you have hired, can you give something about that individual's background a little bit?
Well, she went to the Harvard of the West, Augustana University,
Oh, well,
so
there's no question.
that's probably the best trait that she does have.
I don't have to
and
hear any more.
No bias from me whatsoever regarding
Yes.
that issue,
No,
but
not
I
at
believe many years of experience, and I believe, to be frank, that this is a position that is not kind of a scraping the bottom of the barrel right now. I think there's many qualified mental health professionals that are available in our community, and so I believe they did choose an individual that has the right qualifications.
Well, it's a glowing need. It grows every day, on this thing, so.
Well, I think she also got her master's from the Harvard or Vermillion, right?
That's correct.
Okay.
Yes.
even better. Now, the
right.
best thing of all is she had a
Madam Chair, I offer a motion to approve.
Second.
Thank
Is there
you.
public discussion?
I've got a motion and a second. Any public discussion on this agenda item? All right, if not, Sherry, will you call the roll?
Commissioner Aaron's?
Yes.
Commissioner Poppins?
Yes.
Commissioner Schmidt?
Yes.
Commissioner Landine?
Yes. Okay, item 4 on our agenda. Commissioner Poppins, you,
Yes, I have a candidate wishing to take my spot on the planning, not my spot, but my appointed spot on the planning and zoning, Todd Boots. He currently resides on NT, and I believe he will be a great asset to the board.
and who is that?
Todd Boots?
All right,
What was his name? Todd?
Boots.
Okay.
and any questions for Commissioner Poppins? All right, any public comment on this agenda item? All right, if not, I would consider a motion.
So moved, Madam Chair.
I'll second that motion.
Got a motion and a second, any discussion? All right, any public comment? Going once, twice? Okay. Sherry, go ahead and call the roll.
Commissioner Aaron's?
Yes.
Commissioner Poppins?
Yes.
Commissioner Schmidt?
Yes.
Commissioner Landine?
Yes. All right, and then board action, next agenda item for Legacy Aviation. We got Joe, are you doing that one?
Good morning.
Right.
This board has previously hired a new airport manager, and so this is a board action to send the notice of termination of managerial duties to Legacy Aviation. We previously extended that agreement month to month while we kind of figured out how we wanted this position to appear and their duties. And so this is just sending that letter officially, sending the notice of 30 days from now that will terminate those agreements.
All right, thank you. Does anybody have any questions for Joe? No? All right. Any public comment on this agenda item? All right, if not,
Madam Chair, I'll offer a motion to approve.
thank you. I've got a motion by Poppins, second by Aaron's to approve sending the notice terminating the airport agreement with Legacy Aviation. Sherry, will you call the roll?
Commissioner Aaron's?
Yes.
Commissioner Poppins?
Yes.
Commissioner Schmidt?
Yes.
Commissioner Landine?
Yes. All right, next item. Bill, are you handling that, or?
The city of Lenox has sent a letter asking for support to convert the TIF agreement that's over there for the housing to an economic development agreement. And so that's the letter they've sent. They're asking the commission, because the way TIFs work is the city initiated it, but the county basically, it's working off of our debt load, but we don't have any responsibility or requirements as far as, we don't have any liabilities, but they're using our debt load in order to do it. And they, at this point in time, want to go ahead and build different housing out there. And so in order to do that, they're looking for a different grant, and they're just requesting the county's support and a letter in order to begin that process.
Bill, for the sake of the public, what does it mean when you convert to an economic development?
So the TIF agreements are so that the basic infrastructure for development can get started. They are limited to building affordable housing. And so due to that, the economic development grant would not limit them. They could go ahead and build more expensive homes. And part of the process are things that have happened because inflation has come along and they haven't adjusted what low-cost housing is. That has changed. And so the state still has the same formula for low-cost housing, and it's just not economically viable at this point for them to build those homes at that rate because things have increased by 15%.
All right, can I get a motion to support sending that letter?
So moved, Madam Chair.
I'll second the motion.
Okay, got a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Any public comment on this agenda item? All right, if not, Sherry, will you call the roll?
Commissioner Aaron's?
Yes.
Commissioner Poppins?
Yes.
Commissioner Schmidt?
Yes.
Commissioner Landine?
Yes. Motion carries. All right, next item, item 7 on our agenda. Board discussion on the survey from Sedeco.
It just sounds like what Sedeco is looking for is the commissioner's ranking for the priorities of the categories of medical assistance for indigent persons, jury fees, elections, veteran service officers, criminal defense costs, court costs, cybersecurity costs, and mental health holds.
Yeah, this request came from the South Dakota County Association, didn't it?
Yes,
Yep. So we're supposed to prioritize. What's our biggest expenditure on that list, Madam? Or
it would be criminal defense. That would include the jury fees. Right now, we've got a $1.2 million budget for it.
Hey, I feel that our chair would be the most qualified to fill out this survey.
You know, there are certain things that our chair can do very well, and this, I would agree, Commissioner Poppins, this happens to be one of them. No, but I was thinking, seriously, I think that it's imperative that if and when this summer study goes East River, they're spending a lot of time West River and in central part of the state. I haven't seen any meeting dates. That we really do have our input as to which one of these areas would have the greatest impact on a county budget. And when you look at criminal defense at 1.2 million, and I don't know if you've categorized them, Madam Auditor, on down from there. Like, do we have the numbers for?
Well, if you're just looking at what we've done for budgets, criminal defense is 1.2, mental illness is 350,000, elections 200,000, support of the poor 130,300, and veteran service officers 126,300.
Okay. So criminal defense, by and large, is the largest issue
Yep.
for us. The rest of them are, while they're significant, aren't greatly significant, so.
Madam Chair.
Yep, go ahead.
Commissioner Schmidt, to your point, you know, we spend 1.2 on criminal defense. We spend about, what is it, just a little more on prosecution. And a great amount of the people that we prosecute comes from our population centers. And yet, we don't have the ability to impose a sales tax to be able to take care of that. We don't have city jails. We don't have city courts. County is responsible for taking care of all of it. And I don't see any help on the horizon. And so the only assistance I see coming is if the state wants to share in the burden of criminal defense cost. That I guess we would accept any assistance from the state that we can get. And it's unfortunate that we can't fix this thing for the future, and instead we're gonna have to rely upon the legislature taking up criminal defense cost. I don't know how that's gonna work, but out of all those issues right there, the thing I'm most worried about is that when somebody, you know, last year, we had 360 DUI convictions. That is one DUI every day of the year. And yet, we don't get a dime back to the county for when our sheriff's department takes care of them. You know, I did the math with the state's attorney's office, and it is substantial the amount of time we spend on that issue of DUI enforcement. And 60% of the activity in the criminal justice system is related to alcohol-related offenses, and then another 20% is related to drug crime. So we need help from the state. We need some kind of reimbursement coming back to the county for these DUI enforcement costs, and I don't care if that's like an extra $100 fine or fee that people need to pay when they plead guilty or get a judge guilty of a DUI, but we need that assistance. And we need the help and support of our lawmakers to change the law to allow that money. You know, right now, that money goes to the school district. Well, that's not helping enforcement cost. So I would encourage the Association of Counties to get on board with this law change and start taxing the hell out of people who want to drink and drive and cause all these enforcement issues that taxpayers have to suffer the brunt of.
Sherry, I guess my suggestion for discussion would be with the numbers that you gave to just rank those by the monetary highest to lowest would probably be the easiest way to do it. And obviously, the criminal defense is going to be at the top of that list,
Okay.
if that makes sense. And I can certainly sit down with you and look at it closer if you want, but that would be my thoughts on it right now.
I'd like to have another comment from Commissioner Aaron's. You know, I totally agree with you, Commissioner. I think the frustration on the part of counties that we do everything. We defend them, we arrest them, we house them, we feed them, we take care of their medical situations, and we really don't get anything back from that. So alcohol being the most real, causing the most issues within the court system. You know, we ran this liquor by the drink thing for several years and asking for about 2 cents to a nickel to try and defray some of the cost back to counties to cover our expenses. Well, we couldn't get anything there because the liquor lobby is too strong. So then we had where we had a half cent, up to a half cent sales tax, which Representative Otten tried to push through, which would have been, you know, when you think about it, it would have been the best solution because we would have taken that to the taxpayers. You would have had to approve that by 60%, and then we could levy up to up to a half cent. We didn't have necessarily, but all of that money would go back then to cover our cost. So unless the legislature wants to have a special appropriation, which they may or may not even consider, we sit here as counties covering all the costs with no means by which to reimburse ourselves. So I think that we've lobbied on this, we've done this. Hopefully the legislature does recognize that counties are in dire need of additional revenue to cover their responsibilities. So I would hope that this summer study would come out with some form of legislation that could help us supplement that, look at that $1.2 million and see what they could come up with.
Thank you, Commissioner. All right, I'm going to close discussion on that agenda item and move on to the next agenda item.
So what we need to do is declare surplus from the sheriff's office, 2007 Dodge Durango. Appoint one more person for the committee, because I'm going to have Steve and Chad Brown do the appraisal. And then authorize the auditor to advertise on the public surplus website.
All right, so we already have 2 people for it.
Yep,
We need one more?
yep.
I'd appoint Harold Timmerman, our Emergency Management Director.
Second.
I've got a motion and a second. Any comment on that agenda item?
So that, your motion is going to encompass all 3 objects?
Yes.
That's my second.
Harold, are you okay with that? I guess so. Okay, thank you.
Harold.
Commissioner Schmidt, be careful about requesting any emergency assistance here in the future.
All right, any public comment? All right, if not, Sherry
Commissioner
call.
Aaron's,
Yes.
Commissioner Poppins,
Yes.
Commissioner Schmidt,
Yes.
Commissioner Landine.
Yes. All right, we'll circle back. We had item 4 on our consent agenda. We'll take that up now. That's executing the election service agreement with Election Systems and Software LLC. Sherry, do you want to just give us a rundown on that, the agreement itself?
The agreement is the same as the previous one that we've signed. The difference is that there is, like everything else in the world, increased costs.
Right.
It's set to expire on June 2023.
Does anybody have any questions for our auditor?
Is this agreement, excuse me,
Go ahead.
is this agreement for 1 year only, or is it for a
Nope,
multi-year?
it will, I believe it is effective through December of 2026.
Okay. Oh, yep, there it is, thank you.
Yep. Anybody have questions for staff based on that? All right. If not, I'd consider a motion to approve the agreement.
There will be after they get the
I would
motion.
consider a motion to approve the agreement.
Second.
Motion
Thank
to
you. I've
approve.
got a motion and a second. If there is public comment on this, I would ask those people to come up now. You'll be limited to 3 minutes per person, and we're gonna max that out at a half hour. So, first person, come on up.
Good morning. My name is Kelly Brack, 2812 West Stratton Circle in Sioux Falls. I would like to point out and make a comment here. So on February 8th, 2018, Georgia Secretary of State awarded ES&S with $450,000 sole source contract, giving a private corporation direct access to and/or responsibility over voter registration, ballot access, and ballot counting until December 31st, 2019.
Mick Baruth, 3405 South Coneflower Circle, Sioux Falls, South Dakota. I've got a handout for each of you, if you'd let me pass it to you.
Actually, those handouts need to be provided 24 hours in advance, sir, so we're not gonna accept those at this time.
So we've got a 40-page document entitled Election Systems and Software Corruption Document. There's about 100 different articles in here that you can click the links to see all of the data that's been gathered about ES&S. One of the things that bothers me about this whole deal is, you know, I've always been a firm believer in buying used cars. And when I go to buy a used car for my kids or my wife or myself, whoever I'm buying it from, I make sure they will allow me to take it to have my mechanic look at it, the person that I trust, to look over the vehicle. And what do you think happens if the person I'm looking to buy that vehicle from says, no, you can't take that and have your mechanic look at it? There's no way I'm buying that vehicle. These are taxpayer dollars being used to purchase these machines. And up till this point, nobody's being allowed to look under the hood to see what's in there. And we can't even get the cast vote records released to prove whether they're good or not good. You guys have a tough job in the fact that you're the gatekeeper for the taxpayer dollars. And I would hope that you would use the same discretion with the taxpayer dollars that you would use with your own dollars. Just like I wouldn't go buy a used vehicle from somebody who wouldn't allow my mechanic to look at it, the person that I trust, to see if that vehicle is good or not. And here's an example of that. My son had a drive shaft go out of his car. He took it to a dealership to have it looked at. The dealership wrote up 2 pages worth of recommendations for stuff to fix on that car. The car was worth $12,000. There was $15,000 of recommended fixes for this vehicle. He told me this. I took it to my trusted mechanic. He fixed the car for $1,100. This is what we got going on here. The 40 pages that we have for you talks about 2 themes. Number 1, ES&S pay-for-play schemes run rampant across the U.S. as election officials trade million-dollar voting machine contracts for donations and gifts. That's no different than what that dealership was trying to do to my son. And the second topic is ES&S lied to federal lawmakers regarding data security and consistently demonstrated a dangerous lack of competence in creating secure and reliable machines. Their criminal negligence software caused election-altering undervotes, exposed the personal data of millions, and violated state laws.
Thank you, sir. Your time's expired.
Thank you.
Thank you for your time.
Next person?
Scott Montgomery, Fairview, South Dakota. First of all, I'm not sure how we ever got to needing machines to count ballots in this state. I mean, for over 100 years, we've hand-counted ballots. The county was never sued over those results. Since we've got machines, there's been lawsuits, and understandably so. We've been denied public records. I'm going to read you something right from ES's own website on frequently asked questions. Does ES&S support post-election audits? ES&S is a strong supporter of state and local administration in their work to provide secure, accurate elections. Post-election audits are a legal process by which election officials verify votes that were counted and accurately and is conducted by election officials according to state law. ES voting systems support these audits by providing election details, logs, cast vote records, reports, etc., which election officials utilize for this purpose. ES supports the highest standards for security, including strict chain of custody protocols for equipment and all applicable laws, regulations, certification requirements. You notice it says cast vote records. We've requested those time and time again and denied. You say they don't exist. Right here in ESS's own documentation says that they are available. So I'm not sure what you're trying to hide.
Sir, this is about whether or not we're going to approve this contract.
That's exactly what I'm talking about.
So keep it on point,
Why would we
please.
approve this? Why are you gonna do business with these people? I mean, that's my point entirely. These people are crooked and you're jumping right on board with them. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Anyone else want to come up?
Good morning, Jessica Palma, Lincoln County. I just wanted to say Representative Sue Peterson wanted to relay these comments. She suggests putting the signing of this contract aside until the summer study can take place. She's on the summer study along with the Minnehaha County Auditor. And they're also taking a trip with a delegation to ES&S this summer to visit with the company. She'd also like to see consistency between the counties as her district spans 2 counties. So she wanted to relay that message this morning to table it so there can be more discussion on this and not to sign it. I'm just going to jump off of what Scott was saying, that ES&S has a history of corruption. Their company was actually developed by 2 criminals, convicted criminals. It's interesting when we come here to present, we're not allowed to take a flash drive and plug it into your computer system because it might corrupt the county's system. But that is how we run our elections, is by plugging in flash drives that are in themselves a little computer because they have executable code written into the flash drives that are $105 a piece, must be purchased from ES&S or C-Change. And no one has ever seen the source code or what the programming is on these flash drives, but yet we trust it. And no independent or state-approved cyber expert has been able to look at the machines, verify their integrity. We're taking the word of the company, which has a long history of corruption. And even though this wasn't able to be turned into you today, we have copies, and I suggest that you read it, or I can email it to you. Also, with the cast vote records, it's clear that no one in our state knew anything about the cast vote records. And it's because the company that sells us the machines have been lying to our state officials for a long time. I actually confronted them in the state capitol and called them out on it and asked who's been telling the lies to our state officials that cast vote records don't exist. And it was, in fact, our state rep from ES&S. We caught them. And unfortunately, I didn't have it tape recorded. But I could sign an affidavit if you wanted me to. So, and also with the cast vote records, they are an NIST and EAC requirement for the production of the machines. It's been so since 2005. They're required to produce the machines. They have standardized requirements, no matter the brand, as an auditing tool for the officials. And the intended audience is the general public. That is the government's own documents that say its intended audience is the general public to instill trust. And the fact that the state and this county is keeping those documents from us, lying about their existence, and there is no auditing of the cast vote records is why we don't trust the machines. And so I could stand here and talk for 3 days about the corruption with ES&S and reasons why we should consider not spending our tax dollars on this. But machines can flip votes, hundreds of thousand votes in seconds because it's a computer program. And it can be done at any point in time. Humans can skew votes, but only in a small amount in a precinct maybe, but they can't throw an entire election.
Your time has expired, ma'am.
Thank you. So I would just like to see this county go back to hand counting.
Hello, my name is Penny Baybridge. I'm from Minnehaha County. I didn't expect to talk when I got up here, but I just wanted to add something. Recently, I worked for 2 weeks at the early voting at the Sioux Falls School District election. And so I spent 2 weeks with a lot of the public coming up to me and the number of people that were concerned about their ballots. I want to make sure my vote counts. I mean, there is a concern in the public what's happening and wanting to make sure things are secure. Also, they did a hand count at that school board, and I was participating in that, so I have experience with what that's like. There were 18 of us, and we counted over 6,000 votes in a few hours. It was an interesting experience, but I see that it can be done. And so just, I would ask if you could just consider holding off, as some people are saying, just set it aside, and let's just do a little more review to make sure before we go forward that this is in the benefits of all and what the people want. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, Mike Mathis, Lincoln County. It was 2 weeks ago, we had an event with Dr. Clements, and I know all you were invited to come, and none of you showed up. As you take your oath to defend the Constitution, why wouldn't you be interested in just learning more? I mean, there's a lot of information. Maybe I'm convinced it's not misinformation anymore, but none of you were even interested in attending. I know Commissioner Schmidt calls us crazies for thinking there's problems with ESS. Well, prove us wrong. Come on, take these facts that we're being shared with and prove us wrong. We'd love to be proven wrong. But instead, everybody just sits there and does nothing. So what does that lead us to believe? I mean, what are we supposed to believe? You guys don't want to listen to us. You never have any interest in proving us wrong. So here we sit. And we've been sitting here for months. And now, we're just supposed to go about our time and just forget it? I don't know. You take the Pledge of Allegiance, and that means so much to me. Does that mean as much to you guys that, the people died for our votes? Joel went to war for us. I mean, the right to vote should mean everything, and right now we're just going to outsource it to a third-party company that we have evidence that criminals started this. I mean, what are we doing? So, thank you for your time.
Anyone else want to come up?
Good morning.
Good morning.
Steve Carnes, Lincoln County resident and T Lincoln County business owner. I'd like to yield my time to Jessica Palama.
Okay.
Thank you again. I would just like to say that citizens have been petitioning their county commissions all across the state and for the past year and a half. And there's been many agenda items for election discussion for all of these counties. There's been a special session, an evening session in Pennington County where the commissioners gave their citizens time to come in the evening so that the whole community could participate and have it out. Have it out on elections, bring in experts, expert testimony, so that we can discuss this as a voting public. We're all taxpayers and we all have a right to our opinion. And you guys work for us. That's our money that you're spending. So don't forget that when you make this decision today. That's our tax dollars, and we don't want to spend on corrupt voting machines. So Lincoln County and Minnehaha County in particular have been especially hostile to their citizens that want to talk about election integrity. And all we want is to have a conversation. So I'm asking you today to consider having a special session in the evening sometime with the citizens in the county so we can all get together and discuss how we run our elections in our county, because it's our right. Technically, elections are supposed to be run by the citizens, and like Mike said, we've given it over to a third-party, for-profit company that is hiding absolutely everything from us. It's like we're blindfolded and handcuffed, but it's okay, don't worry, I'm not gonna hurt you, right? So I just think that this needs a little more transparency and a little more discussion, so thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else want to come up?
Good morning, I'm Linda Montgomery from Fairview, South Dakota. For the last year and a half, I have been researching diligently our elections. ES&S, B-Pro, our Secretary of State's, when the machines started, how long they've been here, and what's been wrong with them. I do not think, I really want you not to certify at this time. We have not been allowed to prove that those machines are accurate, and that we do that by the cast vote records. The material you have been given, and I have a 99-page report that I'll email you, and I thought maybe I could get part of it in today. I looked on your public policy, and it doesn't have a timeline for submitting those. So I must be looking at the wrong rules. But we still need to verify that those machines are counting correctly. Look at them. Cast vote records can be downloaded in 5 minutes. There is no reason to withhold them. And what was so disheartening when I really started researching them after the peer get-together was that our auditors were told that there was no such thing as a cast vote record. In fact, an old Secretary of State sat in this room and went, I don't know what the big deal of CVRs are. My goodness, he was Secretary of State and he was also a chairman of 2 states that he went and showed up as a computer election specialist, and he knew all about the CVRs. And he knew that they were there, and they were there for public audit. And we keep being denied. How can you certify something that we haven't agreed upon that are honest, true, and accurate? We want free, fair, and transparent elections. Please deny this. Thank you.
Good morning, Cindy Meyer, Minnehaha County. I just want to make a statement that says, there are states and counties all across the U.S. that are making their CVRs open and able to be reviewed and analyzed. I don't know what's going on in South Dakota. I don't know what's going on in this county. And even as I stand here before you, I just wonder how many of you are even listening to us, because we've been told to our face in Minnehaha County, they don't even hear us anymore. Pretty disturbing to think that you are elected officials and you're not listening to the people. The people are asking for you not to go forward with this signing of this contract. I was down here the night that the primaries, the votes were being tabulated for the primaries. I saw the machines jam time after time after time. We weren't allowed to ask any questions. We tried. We got chewed out for that. So what is it that you are hiding? And so we're asking not to go ahead and sign this contract. This is black box voting. The residents of this state, the residents of this county don't trust what's going on in these machines, and you are yet to verify to us that these elections are correct, transparent, and accurate. And so I would ask that you not sign this agreement today. Thank you.
Anybody else? All right. Any other comments from the commissioners before I ask for a motion on this?
I have a question for our auditor.
Yeah, go ahead.
Are we getting any direction from the state, or are you getting any direction different from accepting these machines as legitimate?
No.
And if we did delay as they're requesting, what impact would that have in your timeline to run elections?
I don't have an election this year.
Okay, thank you.
Madam Chair, I got a question for the auditor.
Sure.
Does this, let me make sure I phrase this correctly. Does the agreement with ES&S prevent us from releasing these cast vote records?
No.
Second question.
And this is in litigation.
I get that, and I don't want to go there. I'm just talking about the discrete issue in front of us, not the past contract, the new contract. Does the CVR exist?
That's not part of what we're discussing today. We're discussing whether or not we should sign this contract.
Right, and so as a part of this contract, if the contract allows us to release CVRs, is there a CVR to be released under this contract?
Have you read the contract? It's in your share drive. There is nothing in here about release of information that I've seen.
Well, and that's what I'm trying to figure out is what the auditor's understanding is of this, because she runs the election. So I'm just trying to figure out, is it her understanding that this can be, the CVR can be released pursuant to this agreement? But here's where my thinking is on this. We don't have an election this year. We've got some state legislators from our county looking into this. We've got a little bit of time to do some due diligence here. I'm concerned that ES&S may assert that these CVRs are proprietary information pursuant to this agreement. Dodge County, Wisconsin posts their CVRs online. They used to use ES&S as their provider. We're thinking about renewing with ES&S here today. Transparency and accountability is important in elections. I think what I'm most concerned about is, let's just get these, I can't support an agreement if ES&S is not gonna allow the posting of these CVR records. I've looked at these CVR records from other counties. I can't make heads or tails of them. It's just a big ginormous spreadsheet that gets posted. There's many other counties around the country who do this. I'm concerned that an agreement with ES&S traps us or prevents us due to this proprietary information clause from being able to do that. And so I would, if I had my druthers today, I'd rather just put this off for a little while we figure out what the Secretary of State and these legislators want to do.
Are you saying that this agreement addresses or claims that there's proprietary information? This agreement does not talk anything about proprietary information.
Here's my assertion. I heard the auditor.
I'm just trying to clarify what your
I heard the
issue
auditor
is.
say earlier there was no disagreement between this contract and the previous one, except for the cost. So if the auditor's contention is that there's no material difference between this agreement and the last agreement, that means that ES&S can object to the release of CVRs on the basis of proprietary information, as they are currently doing with the existing contract. That's my assertion.
So commissioners, what do you want to do?
But maybe we could clear this up. I mean, if we could have an ES&S rep come in here and vouch for or tell us that they're gonna drop this whole proprietary information objection, then I'm okay with it.
We had any problem with them? Ever?
I don't know, Bill's probably gonna not like this. I think there's a confusion as to what you're talking about with proprietary information. They are not saying the cast vote record is proprietary. They are saying the other records that they were requesting were proprietary. The cast vote record does not exist. It's not that it can't exist. We're aware of this. It does not exist. And right now, all the information for the election.
All right, we're not going to be shouting things from the audience. The auditor has the floor.
All the election information is sealed. It's sealed right after. We do not currently have a CVR report. It doesn't exist. That's why we cannot give it out.
No, you may not. Commissioners have any other comments?
Okay, guys, please, we're all listening. We've heard it.
No, it's done. We're done.
We're done taking
The-
public input.
We are discussing this now. We will either take action on it or not. Public input on this item is closed. If you continue to speak out of turn, then I'm going to ask you to leave. So let us have our discussion.
Madam Chair, I have yet to be convinced, and I have read documents concerning the SS systems, and there is some questions out there. That I think that will not hurt us to delay a decision today. But that being said, I would also be willing to host, you know, a round open session so everyone can come and speak about it at a public event sponsored by the county. There's no reason not to do something like that. That doesn't mean that we're gonna get convinced one way or the other, it just allows an opportunity. So if there's any other commissioners, I would be willing to host it, and find a time that would work. At this point in time, I am going to look at trying to postpone this. If the only option is an up or down vote, I'm not sure exactly how that will be for me at this moment, so.
So, Madam Auditor, we're not under any time constraints right now?
I would say probably not, since we don't have an election.
Okay.
Madam Chair, I don't have any heartburn with waiting. If they want to take a tour, they can take a tour. The thing that, what I hear is, you know, go by what past records that we've had in this county, and I have yet to see any zero situations where this county has had an election that has any variation from what the results were. I think that Lincoln County is a gold standard on how we conduct our elections, and when I hear people unsubstantiated with any evidence, just hearsay recommendations and all kinds of things, that irritates me. So I don't have any problem if we want to wait for, until you can take a tour down to Omaha or whatever, and look at some other opportunities. I don't have any heartburn with that. If we want to bring the voting people in, machines in, I don't have any problem with that either. But when and if sometime, I'd like to see some quantifiable evidence, and I mean quantifiable evidence, not what I've read and I've been sent and been given and all that other kind of stuff. So if that will satisfy them, let's do it.
Right, right now what I would ask for is a motion to table, this
So moved.
item. Got a motion by Schmidt. Can I get a second,
Second.
please? Got a motion and a second.
Do we have a timeline for the table?
When are you taking the tour?
We are going in June.
June.
Can we set it for August?
August 1st?
The first meeting in August?
First meeting in August.
Second that too.
All right, Sherry, you call the roll.
Commissioner Aaron's?
Yes.
Commissioner Poppins?
Yes.
Commissioner Schmidt?
Yes.
Commissioner Landine?
Yes. Motion carries. All right, next item on our agenda is opportunity for public comment for items not on the agenda. Anyone wishing to come up can do so now.
Jessica Palma, Lincoln County. Just wanted to say that the software that you're paying for produces the cast-vote records that you say don't exist.
Ma'am, we've closed public comment on that. This is for items not on the agenda.
Okay,
Thank you.
good enough.
Anybody else wish to come up?
Hi, John Agee, Lincoln County.
Hey.
Sherry and I have been going back and forth. Just like one document from the county that says track one of Agee's district up there in Springfield is off of the Riverside Road district. I need a piece of paper that says that.
I'll have all of it to you today once I file it with the registered deeds.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah, that worked well.
That got approved on the consent agenda.
I get it, but
Yeah.
I just want a piece of
Yeah.
paper for our records. I wouldn't even be here asking for it.
Of course.
Well, we like to have people come.
If it would have been a different thing 24 years ago.
Well, thanks for coming anyway.
You're good.
This has been educational.
Yeah.
Any other public comment today for items not on the agenda?
Linda Montgomery from Fairview, South Dakota. I just want to make a question. I've been watching your Lincoln County Commissioners' public comment policy, and I was told during another issue that these have been changed. And online, it's still the October 11th, 2022 rules or policies. And as I looked over like today, the one thing that came out was we need documents 24 hours ahead. That's not in there. And then there is another thing about, talking about things, I believe that I got the memo from my lawyer that you guys had updated this. So I just want to make sure that that gets published so that we know exactly what has been changed so that we can follow it better. Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else? All right. If not, any commissioner reports today? All right.
One thing I think,
Go ahead.
I would ask all of you to remember Commissioner Gibbon in your thoughts and prayers as he is fighting, a situation right now, which is very difficult for him. And I think that if you are so inclined, do put him in your prayers and thoughts, because he's a good commissioner and he's fighting a tough battle.
Thank you for that, Commissioner. Do we need executive session, Bill?
Yes.
All right, can I get a motion to go into executive session?
So move, Madam Chair.
Bill, which ones are we moving on?
Linda, hold on just a minute.
Contract litigation.
Madam Chair, I'll move to go in under subs 1, 3, and 4.
All right, thank you. Got a motion, do I have a second on that?
Second.
All right, got a motion and a second. Any discussion before we go into executive session?
Can we have a 5-minute break?
Yep,
Okay.
we can. Sherry, will you call the roll?
Commissioner Aaron's?
Yes.
Commissioner Poppins?
Yes.
Commissioner Schmidt?
Yes.
Commissioner Landine?
Yes.
Come out of executive session, Madam Chair.
Carter, are we back on? All right, or I'm sorry, Jake. Hi, Jake. I've got a motion and a second to come out of executive session. Sherry, will you call the roll?
Commissioner Aaron's?
Yes.
Commissioner Poppins?
Yes.
Commissioner Schmidt?
Yes.
Commissioner Landine?
Yes. Can I get a motion to adjourn,
Motion
please?
to adjourn.
Thank you.
Second.
Thank you, Sherry.
Commissioner Aaron's?
Yes.
Commissioner Poppins?
Yes.
Commissioner Schmidt?
Yes.
Commissioner Landine?
Yes.